Hi everyone guys, it's channel Time Lapse. Today we will talk about the myth United States of America. America is unique in history case. After all, a superpower on the level of the Roman Empire was born literally yesterday by historical standards, and therefore everything in history is excellent. It's documented that some myths about the history of the USA are quoted in American textbooks. For example, the myth that the inhabitants of the USA are descendants of the British admit almost all of us consider these two states to be something like brothers, where the younger one displaced the older one. This friends is not even close to that. You can start here with the fact that first 4 European colonies in the New World, there were exactly 0 English ones. Fort Royal and Fort Caroline were founded by the French governors of Saint Augustine and Fort San by the Spaniards. The first European language in the New World was Spanish. English appeared in American half a century later. If you look at the US Census, the 25 million people are defined themselves as descendants of British settlers, and 49 million people call it themselves, drumroll, German ancestors. A state that seems to in general I only held accountable for the USA now understood, France, Britain, Spain, and even the Russian Empire. But reality is that Germany was the largest entity of the United States of America. And this is not about jokes about West Germans fled in 1945. 3 centuries before them organized, and not everyone was transported the New World very well, who is not too lazy, and the Germans who have anything. In the 17th century there was no smell of single state. Ran the front row. It just happened. So victory in the big game for the colonies. The British Empire won. And this whole growth of English, French, German, Spanish and other people simply learned English to make life simply more confident. Just like in continental Europe everyone learned French. The war for USA independence is not a conflict between the British and British settlers. In the new lights is post-conflict between the British Empire and its rebellious colonies, whose inhabitants already considered themselves American regardless of who they came to America from. But even so, there were still nuances because the first official census in 1719 showed that 1 out of every in the United States still spoke German. Father of Frederick Moulberg, who became the first Speaker of the Congress in 1789 and was born in German and once participated in a bill to make compulsory an official translation of all laws into German. It was rejected with the difference just one word, and the USA could be founded as a belligerent country, documents within the states. By the way, a separate historical myth is associated. In some schools they even tell that the German founding father of the United States wanted to make it second state language. But, as we have already said, this is not true speech. It was only about translating laws. Well, and back to the first settlers. We'll talk another myth. The Russian Empire also took part in the spirit of which the myth is that the first settlers in the New World were adventurers, dissident, criminal and people who didn't live in Europe. There were many similar cases. In January 1733, King George II of Britain commissioned James Ogle to create a colony where prisoners from debtor prison would be resettled. They were in Britain craft, and James Ogle fulfilled his will king. This is how the province of Georgia and its capital Savannah appeared, which still stands today. However, did everyone get into debt? Prisons? Because of the fraud, and how many people there were who were simply unlucky is an open question. But even if you forget about him, there are still hundreds of thousands of Puritans. Britannia continued to be in religious turmoil in the dawn of the 17th century. In short, the perforbate King Henry VII divorced his inconvenient wife. The Church of England Catholic and Puritans mutually pilled each other underpant, pushed and depending on who supported in power, oppressed in every possible way. So it happened so on board the same pilgrim ship Mayflower, which started US history basically, were persecuted Puritans. Were they criminal, lumpers, or adventurers? Of course not. Rather, on the contrary, the situation turned out badly. It's funny, because of Mayflower that the following ships were filled mostly with fairly wealthy people who suddenly realized that on another continent the servant don't bring you tea and the food is a disability trying to kill you, and the terrible mortality rate in the ranks of the first colonists. If the first colonists were adventurers and criminals, it's unlikely that the mortality rate in Jamestown would have been 80%. Werewolves are perfectly trained to survive. The story of Sir Walter Raleigh is even more revealing, who, being a favorite of Queen Elizabeth, founded the first settlement in America in 1585, 20 years earlier than the official first Jamestown. The Roanoke colony is rarely mentioned in textbooks because the horrible Sir filled the ships with naturalist nobles and senses, an artist in general and a Zeus who can write a book. But he has a very vague idea about lighting a fire. The settlement of Roanoke ended with the mysterious disappearance of all residents, but that's another story. There are not so many outright criminals and fugitives in British America. Definitely few Puritans playing for religious reasons. The following myth about freedom associated with them: the fact that romantic colonists went to the New World for religion freedom is carved into the stones of any textbooks. Reality unfortunately is not so rosy in the Puritans, who received the first colonists first of all, of course began to strongly representative of the religions. Actually, in most colonies until the 17th century, only members of the Puritan Church could vote, and the laws prohibited Jews and Christians from holding public office. Moreover, even in the original US Constitution there is no report about the division of the Church, and individual state could easily establish an official religion and forbid the Gentiles to do what they want. The Freedom of Religion Amendment was passed only 1791, and even though this remained the subject of much debate, ironically democracy has never been a subject of debate in the United States because of questions of its presence was not on the agenda of the founding fathers. John Adams, the father of the founder of the United States, who dealt with the issue laterally, wrote that state a country of laws and not people, and democracy is not on the agenda. In this regard, Adams proposed using a mixed system with elements of as many as 3 styles. However, the system established by the founding fathers still stands. Firstly, it lists in the fact that you can sit in Congress almost as long as you want. Well, secondly, the people of the United States don't elect a president. In 2000, when Albert Gore received more votes than George Bush, but the latter still became president. Let's continue our story. The USA was not alone. This is what everyone forgets. France joined in 1779, and Spain and Holland in 1780. And what was more important was the army under the cover of the flag. What American fighters were critically important. The last major battle of the American Revolution was the siege of Yorktown, and after losing it, Britain began to negotiate for peace. They accepted the surrender in Yorktown. 2 people on each other's side from Britain. 2 Britons and from the USA, an American and Frenchman. Who watched the video to the end? Like and share your opinion in the comments. Your likes and subscription a great reward for our team. We will continue to make new video for you. Thank you so much for watching, dear friend.